Hello everyone, welcome back to Crafts by the Bow. Today is project number 6 from our 12 days of Advent crafting kit, and I'm going to make a layout that you've probably all seen before, where you have 2 triangles of designer series paper on the front of your card, but I want to show you some other things that you can do with that. So what you need are these things here. If you want to take a screenshot, I'm leaving them there for a second. And let's move these over. I'm going to be stamping with a different one of the stamps today. I'm going to use the big stamp and the die cut. And I'm also going to use one of the die cut labels. And what I've done is I've actually die cut all of them, so that when I'm making a card, I can pop them on the front just to see which one I think fits better, because it's not a set I use frequently. I've not used them before and I'm not quite sure which would fit on my card fronts. So I love this one with a little stitched edge. So I've got those and I'm just keeping those in my pack here. So let's make the basic card and then I'll show you how to do some different things with it. So I've got Secret Sea and I've chosen this piece. Oops, let's take that off. This piece of the designer series paper. So this is going to become the front. And that means we're only using a small piece of paper and it's quite economical to make the card. So we needed a 3x4 piece. This paper has no direction, so I didn't worry about which way to hold it or anything. If yours does have direction, it needs to be 3 across the top and then 4 down the side. Okay, so let's fold and burnish our card front. Oh, I'm just going to check that that's videoing. We're having a snowstorm here at the moment, so I apologise for the windy noises and the gentleman next door but one who's bending his deck in the snow. So there we go. I'm pretty sure spring must be coming soon. Okay, now to go on the front of this card, we need a matte layer that is 4 by 5 1/4. Now, if you want, you can do like a brighter colour like this. I just picked Flirty Flamingo because it's in the pattern. But I want it to look a little bit more classic, so I'm just going with white. And I've got one piece for the front and then one piece the same for the inside. And that's why it says a layer for matte 1 and matte 3 is going inside. You need 2 pieces. It doesn't matter which colours. You might have one coloured piece, one white piece for inside. And then you need a smaller layer. Oh, let's put that back. 3 1/4 by 4 1/4, and that's going to be the layer for our paper. And Secret Sea is my favourite colour at the moment, and I do all my sentiments stamped in it because I like it better than the black. And I think this is my 3rd pack of the cardstock, so it's a really popular colour. Okay, now we've got our designer series paper. It's going to go on our card at the left, top, bottom, right. So turn your paper around whichever way you think, oh, you know, I like that best. But we're going to cut from top right corner to bottom left. So just turn it and see which way you think. I'm going to have this at the top and my 2 main pink things at the bottom, so that when I cut through, I've actually got pink on both sides, or Flirty Flamingo. And we're going to cut it top right to bottom left. You just need to line it up in the track on your trimmer, or if you're a person who cuts these by hand, just draw your line, draw it on the back so that you can't see it and don't have to erase it. I'm going to just move that score blade out of the way, and I'm going to start my blade in the middle because I'm very good at bending the edges of corners if I start at the bottom, and I don't want that. So I'm starting in the middle, going up and then down, and that way I get nice sharp points. And this exactly the same, top right, bottom left. So I'm putting it in the track again. Now that's already got a little bent corner, so I'm just going to straighten that. There we go. And again, the edges or the corners are in the track, and to close that down, starting in the middle, up and down. Right, let's pop that out of the way. And I'm just going to adhere these pieces. It will only have a small border round, as you can see. We're just going to pop them on like that. And I think that Secret C really makes that designer series paper pop right out. Okay, I'm making sure that I've got my points right in the middle there. That's it. So then the rest of it will have that nice border all the way around. Okay, that's number 1. And here's number 2. And again, I'm just going to make sure that my corners are all even. Might need a new blade on my trimmer. I turned the blade round, but I think I've already used that side. Okay, so that will become the focal front. And let me show you what I meant about having 2 different colours. If you wanted to pick a colour from here, these are going to go on the front like this. So you could choose a colour that matches from on here. But I like the effect of the white. Like this. Okay. Ooh. Let's just go down there. There we go. Okay. I like it on the white for what I'm doing today. Now, you can glue these down, leaving a nice gap in the middle, and then find one of the bigger sentiments, like the birthday wishes or the big thanks. It has to be one that fits between these. So I would have that like this. And then you simply need like a little bow on the corner, maybe some of the gems or something, and that would be your card finished. So that's a very basic way to make it, but a beautiful way to make it. If you didn't want it to say big thanks, from this set, the birthday wishes would fit perfectly as well. Okay. You can also make your card go this way. So just change the orientation a little bit of your paper and of your card. So it doesn't have to be portrait. Now, what I want to do with this one is I'm going to glue this front down, so then it's just easier to show you. If I was stamping in the middle of the triangles, I wouldn't glue it down first. I would pop these pieces on and maybe even use a pencil just to give me a little mark between these 2 pieces so I know where to stamp. If I glued it down and then stamped, you could bet your life I'd put my finger on it, I'd drop the ink pad, I'd do something. Okay, now that would be for the card that we've already discussed. I want to put them a bit nearer together like this. I'm not going to stamp in the middle. I'm going to have sort of a focal area and an embellishment over here. Now, if I put that pink down, I maybe should have shown you this first. Ooh, that's really nice with the pink actually, with the flirty flamingo. Do you know what? I'm going to cut another piece of card and I'm going to do it that way. So let me just see, when you're crafting on the fly, you can change your mind about things. I could even fold my card over the other way. Why not just do that? Fold it the other way so that that becomes the inside. Let's burnish it again. That's much quicker, isn't it? So I'm going to have this. I didn't think that that's how I wanted it to be, but once I saw it, oh, actually, that's a nice sort of coordinating card. There we go. So I'm going to put them so that they meet up nearer, not close together like this, although you could make your card like that. I just want a little gap between, like that. Okay, so let's glue these on. I'm going to glue these down flat. And as long as I've got the same kind of border, top and bottom, then that's going to work. So I'm just going to check over here that I've got, there we go. That's the same. I've got a slightly bigger border at the bottom, but that's because I want to put an embellishment here, a large embellishment. You just move it so that it fits with whatever you're adding. There we go. Okay. So let's leave that on one side to dry and find our scrap paper. And I told you that I was going to make it with this larger flower, and it is quite a big flower. So I've got it already on here, and rather than just stamping, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my little sponge daubers. You could use blending brushes. You could probably even use just like a piece of sponge, just to make a little bit of texture. So I'm going to use Misty Moonlight because that's the other blue that's in the paper. And I'm going to start with crushed curry. I want just a little bit in the center of my flower. So let's put both out. Oh, I've got a sequin on here, look. Let's take that off. I don't know how I've got that. Pop it over there for now. In the bin. There we go. So I'm just going to put a little bit on here and then rub some of it off, because I only want a very light touch right in the middle, and I'm just daubing. I don't want it to be a perfect circle, so I'm just going to go out a little bit. When it's finished, I will put a little bit more yellow in the middle. Okay, so now I'm going to go in with the Misty Moonlight. And this is a little bit more juicy because I have only just filled this up, so it's quite dark. And I'm going to start from the center. I'm going to leave that little circle, and then I'm just going to do a darker little ring around it. And this will make the center of the petals a little bit darker. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start at the center and go down to the bottom of each of the petals. If I need more ink, I'll just do exactly the same. Start at the center and go down to the bottom. Some of the petals will be darker than others, and that's perfectly good. Just to check, I'm turning it over, and if you can see, I've got here, this one is much darker already, so I won't put any more ink on that one, but I'll put a little bit more on the others, just in the middle. And it doesn't take very long. Okay, that's as much as I'm going to put on for now. I've got my little scrap paper, and I'm going to stamp it twice. So I'm going to stamp it once at full strength, and then I'm going to stamp it again straight away to give me second generation. So I'm pressing it down, I'm just holding it for a couple of seconds, lift it off, and straight away I'm going to put it back down. Again, I'm just going to leave it for a couple of seconds. There we are. And you see how you get sort of two different colours, I'm going to go back with that little sponge dauber because I want to put a tiny bit more in the middle. I don't want it really dark, so I'm brushing off a lot of it, or sponging off a lot of it. And then I'm just going to dab gently. We've already got a little bit in there, and that's sort of at the bottom of the petals anyway. But I just want a little bit more. There we go. Ah, okay. So I'm just going to close this up. While I've got the other ink out, I should really make my sentiment, but I don't know how this is going to look yet. So I'll close it up for a moment just so that it doesn't dry. And then what you need to do is to take the larger die, place it over here, and just cut them out. Cut them both out. We'll use one for the front and one for inside. And I have already done that so that you don't have to just watch me cutting pieces out. So here's the first generation, here's the second generation. Let's move that one out of the way. I did actually try it in the Flirty Flamingo as well. So if you want to have the white on the bottom and then the Flirty Flamingo, you could do that. If you don't want to use these bigger pieces, or if you're keeping the triangles apart, you could use some of the pieces from here, this little bag, and I'd already sponged these for a different project. So this is Old Olive and Flirty Flamingo, which are the colours in the paper. So you see how it gives you, it's sort of just a bit different. You can have darker piece down the middle, lighter bits on some of the leaves. So when you sponge or when you blend with a blending brush, I like how you can get different colours or different tones of it. Okay. If you don't want to do any of those, choose something from the little pack that already has the die cuts in. Okay. I love this big one, but I'm going to go with the lighter one. Let's see which way. I think I'm going to have it like this way, but I'm going to go with the lighter one, I think. Let's just see. Yeah, I'm going to go with this lighter one, and I'm going to put it over this corner. And you remember I said I lifted this just a bit higher. That's because I knew these petals were quite long. So I'm going to have that like that. I'm going to do my sentiment, and I'm choosing the little rectangle to do my sentiment with, and I'm going to go back to Secret Sea for my sentiment. I've already decided I want to use the Thinking of You stamp. So let's pop that on there. There we go. And let's just clean that stamp as I press that in really deep. I don't want it to stain inside that stamp. There we go. A little bit. I think I'd like it to go across here. I did cut a little extra piece of Secret Sea because I thought I might just back it. And this label is 3/4 of an inch wide, and I cut this at 7/8 because I think I might just like that tiny little border around it. So let's glue that on. And then I'm going to cut it just straight. Sometimes what we do, if we have like punches or things like this, we'll cut another of the same die or the same punch in a different colour. And then let me find another one of those little white pieces. Because we don't have any that are a perfect layering fit, if you cut this in half and put half at the top and then half at the bottom, let me show you. We'll just cut it straight in half, and then you can glue it so that you've got a half at the top and a half at the bottom. And that gives you just a little border, a little layer around it. Oh, let me put that back in my bag so I know that that's one of the basic pieces that I've cut. Okay, now I'm just going to trim this with the same border that it's got at the left hand side. Oh yeah, I like it on that. But I'm going to put them on dimensionals, so excuse my reach here. I'm going to put that on and the flower. So I'm going to put this on first, and then I know how much space I've got to work with. Okay, so these two pieces I can add a little bit of liquid glue or a glue dot to make them stick down, but 1, 2, 3 I'm going to put dimensionals on. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and let's put a little one on that third one. Take those backings off, and I'm just going to hold it there. See, I only need a tiny dab of glue on these. I'm just going to put it on that one. Make sure that I'm not covering the writing. There. Okay. Now for the inside, I've already got that piece that we did here. And I've got my little extra strip that I had cut off. So I think I might pop that inside, just like this. You could put it across the bottom if you preferred. Oh, that's quite pretty across the bottom too. I'm going to put it across the bottom. I'd cut it from the paper so it's actually long enough here. So I just need to change the length of it. So I'm just going to cut it at 4 because that's what the white is. Let's pop it in the paper trimmer. If you were doing this before you glued it in, you could just glue it onto the white cardstock and then trim it after, before you glue it into the card. And leave a little line of white at the bottom, like I always do. And then I'm just going to glue this one down flat. Let's turn it a little bit. There we go. Just move it up a little bit. There we go. That's better. And then you can add whatever bling you would like to put on. I might put on some of the little gold drops with a glue dot, and you've seen me do those before, but when I take the picture ready for the YouTube video, I will have already added that. Or you can add on some of the little sequins, maybe the little flowers in there, or even the little thick bows. Remember, we didn't use those bows in the shaker card, so maybe the bows, that would be nice. And there we go. So I hope you like that card. I hope you'll give it a go. And instead of always having them wide apart with your sentiment here, pop them closer together, and you still get the nice border effect round them. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I'll be back next time with project number 7. So we're already halfway through. Take care and have a great day. Bye-bye.